What's going on, everyone? My name's Erik O'Brien with the Boat Specialist here in sunny Ventura, California. I'm hailing all the way up from our Richmond office up in the Bay Area. I've got the opportunity to review Boston Whaler's Montauk series. Right now, we're on the flagship, we're on the 210. This Montauk's performance does not disappoint. We got this boat all the way airborne today, propped completely out of the water, and we landed confidently and comfortably. A little bit of a slam, but this boat handles it. This is a 21'4" boat with an 8'6" beam, giving it perfect stability for a boat of its size. There's not many other boats in its class that are this short with an 8'6" beam. So having that added width and having Whaler's whole design, you can walk, you can stand all the way out on a rail, jump up and down, and the boat's not going to get upset whatsoever. So boat's still trailerable. It's the max trailerable beam without getting a wide load permit in a 21-foot boat, which is pretty astounding. It's extremely stable. It's a very confidence-inspiring ride. Performs extremely well downswell, quartering seas, anything you can throw at it, it can take. You can cut the boat in half and it won't sink. What more could you ask for? When you're fishing, when you're out on the water, when you're stepping up on the casting platform up forward, you'll notice as you put a foot up on the rail, the boat's not gonna move whatsoever. So when you've got a little beam to sea, when you're casting on a kelp patty or you're drifting for halibut, that kind of thing, the boat is just planted, stable, and comfortable. It's kind of one of those things that can tire you out prematurely, is rocking back and forth aggressively. Sometimes a 21-foot boat with an aggressive deep V will ride nice, but then once you're at rest fishing, you're getting exhausted, you're getting worked side to side. This boat has trim tabs, but it hardly needs them. So even if you have, big heavy people on the rail, you have coolers, ice sloshing back and forth, you'll notice even with the trim tabs not in play in the all the way up position, the boat does not get upset side to side. That 8'6" beam in such a small package creates perfect stability in a boat of its size. I've spent a ton of time on 17 and 19-foot Whalers. The 21 is next level. The added beam, the added length, the deck space on this boat, it's all functional, all usable. And you can fish from 360 degrees on this boat. You can comfortably cast. One thing, when you put a T-top on some of the smaller Montauks, you notice if you're doing some inshore fishing, doing overhead casting, a lot of people are using these boats to saltwater fly fish these days. Having a huge foredeck with a big casting platform and no rod holders overhead, having all that added real estate to cast from is huge on a boat of this size. Like the whole Montauk series, this boat is unsinkable. All Whalers are completely foam filled. You can cut these boats in half and the two halves will float just fine. There's a great video online of one of these boats cut in half with the motor still attached, up on plane, riding with no bow. This Montauk 210 is powered by a Mercury 150. It's a 4-cylinder 150, giving a great balance of time to plane. This boat jumps right up on plane. You also have very low fuel burn, super fuel efficient with the 4-cylinder, and plenty of power to get you as fast as you would ever want to go on this boat. For a 21-foot boat, the Boston Whaler Montauk is extremely feature rich. We've decided to load this boat with Simrad electronics, Mercury SmartCraft digital gauges, all the illuminated rocker panels, which are standard on the boat, and a JL audio sound system, which we put to the test. It sounds awesome. Got a Simrad VHF radio, Mercury's mechanical controls, and Seastar hydraulic steering. Buttery smooth steering, having a 150 horse outboard, they are pretty heavy motors, the modern 4-strokes, but when paired with a buttery smooth hydraulic steering, it's a pleasure to drive. We've made it back to the dock, and now I'm going to show you my favorite parts of the Montauk 210, starting with my very favorite, the casting platform. Boston Whaler has added non-skid all the way out to the rails on this boat. So if you pan down to the rail, this whole section is non-skid. Super grippy, and the rub rail actually protrudes slightly above deck level. So if you're all the way out on the rail, you have a firm, safe place to stand. These Montauk 210s are such a classic boat. They lend themselves very well as yacht tenders as well. and we've seen these boats outfitted with tons of cushions and a whole sun deck up here for lounging. We've outfitted this boat as more of a fish-focused build. So we've opted for less cushions and more rod holders and the live bait well, coolers. One awesome part of this bow section is we have a huge anchor locker. It's really big for a 21-foot boat. You got a drain plug down there. You can keep it dry or wet, and you can hose off your anchor rod and let it drain. One really cool thing Boston Whaler has done on the Montauk 210 is they've added wiring for a trolling motor. Many of our clients here in California use these Montauks for inshore striper fishing, and it's a perfect candidate for a big trolling motor. And all you have to do is buy a trolling motor, add a mount, and plug it in right there, and you're good to go. There's a switch pre-wired on the dash to activate the power to the 12 volt, and you're good to go. As you poke around the boat and check out all the stainless cleats and rails and fittings and latches and hinges, you notice how high quality and how beautiful each of those pieces of metal are. One of my favorite parts of this boat is the huge fish box up in the bow. I don't like having to walk my bloody fish all the way back aft. It's super nice to keep everything nice and tidy up in the bow. We've opted for a big igloo cooler that doubles as your seat up in front of the console. Tons of storage, and it's removable for easy cleaning, which I love. Cushion fits perfectly, snaps into place, and it's a really comfortable place to ride. I spent a lot of time up here as we were riding back into the marina. It's a beautiful place to soak up the view. One of the many things Boston Whaler does extremely well is their hardtops. So as we were taking big impacts, as we were trying to upset the boat and put it through some challenging conditions, this hardtop didn't budge at all. One of my pet peeves when I get on a boat and we go through some choppy water is when the whole T-top's bouncing back and forth. And this boat does absolutely none of that. This thing is rock solid, stays in place, it's quiet, no rattles. One thing that surprised me about the Montauk 210 is how big underneath the console is. I was expecting this to be kind of at deck level, but when you open up this compartment, you have a portahead that you can actually sit on comfortably. The depth of that console is about knee high on me, so about 2.5 feet. So it gives you a ton of headroom when you're going under there to use the head. I love how Boston Whaler has added the batteries underneath the console, adding them up forward of the helm station. So when you're riding with a light boat, the bow's not in the air, you're not having to put the trim tabs to work. One thing I love about Boston Whaler center consoles is they've added a mesh storage compartment up here. So it zips open, and there's a pass-through right here in the middle where you can stuff your PFDs, your safety equipment up above, kind of out of sight and out of mind until you need them. As we make our way back aft, you'll notice that this is also essentially a casting platform. The seating doubles as deck, so you can lift these hatches up. You have your cushions underneath, and you've got a nice backrest there. You can have two people sitting back here, and then once you get to the fishing grounds, you just pop these down. They become deck space. Easy peasy. You don't have to stow cushions. They're just right there. You don't have to think about it. We've chosen to add the stainless package to this boat, which gives you higher rails back in the cockpit. I love these. You can attach tons of rod holders to them if you want to. We've got 4 up here in the hardtop, but a couple more for bouncing for halibut never hurts. And they add an added level of security. One thing that we don't typically see on 21-foot center consoles is a raw water washdown all the way back here at the transom. What that allows us to do is hose down our decks and let it bail out the cockpit without having to wait to get back to the dock. Sometimes if you're doing a dive trip or a fishing trip out to the islands, the last thing you want to do is tie up and let that fish blood dry on the deck. So having the raw water washdown, having the ability to flush the deck before you tie up, before you anchor up out at the islands is essential when overnighting. All right, another feature not too common on 21-foot center consoles is an actual dive platform. So we've got a stainless ladder that folds and telescopes down into the water, and we have a swim step covered in teak. So really nice touch, allows easy, safe access to the boat from the water. Look down here, aftward of that seat, you see a strap. You pull that strap, you lift up, and you have your plumbed aerated bait well. So easy access from the cockpit where you're going to be doing all your fishing. This bait well will hold about half a scoop of our West Coast anchovies pretty comfortably, keep them alive for a few days, no problem. And you'll notice it is sealed. So Boston Whaler has kind of given a nod to their boats from the 70s and the 80s with this leaning post bolster that tilts fore and aft. But what they've done much better these days is the fit and finish, the build quality of the stainless and the fittings as you pull each position into place. There's just a smooth clunk and they do not rattle. Thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed those drone shots. I hope you enjoyed this boat getting airborne. I hope that made it into the video. And come check us out. Come see the boats at the Ventura showroom at 2900 Golf Course Drive.